This is Paul Nobles from eattoperform.com. Make sure to hang around where I talk about the special $100,000 challenge for the next 2 months alone. This is a 1972 Plymouth Duster. You might be thinking, what does this car have to do with me using up excessive fat on my body, or maybe not? Bear with me and I'll get to that part, and I'll give you the exact plan we've taught over 1 million people. This was the car I walked to every day after school in my senior year of high school. But let me back up for just a second. John Ehret High School in Marrero, Louisiana was my fourth high school in 4 years. If you've ever changed schools, you know it can be super hard on you. Rinse and repeat that for 4 years and you have a unique challenge. The challenge each year was to, within days, find a core group of people who I could connect with. Here's a picture of me a few months into that school year. Trust me, macho wasn't an option. If you ever saw the movie The Breakfast Club, I was the Anthony Michael Hall character. I had no other option but to go for funny and quirky. Which, by the way, isn't a great option for dating, but I digress. The gal in the picture was just a friend. When you're the new guy, and let's face it, I was probably viewed as the annoying new guy to some, you get a lot of attention, some good, but at least in one case, some very bad. About a month into the school year, early on in the day, I was told not to go to my car at the end of the day. I apparently rubbed the wrong person the wrong way, and they would be meeting me at my car. The funny part as I think back on this story is that this scene wasn't new to me. The difference in this scenario is that I weighed about 125 pounds, and the person that I had a beef with was about double that. It obviously wasn't going to be a fair fight. So I had a decision to make. Do I go to my car and get my butt kicked? Or do I not show up as the new guy and be ridiculed for the rest of the year? I chose the first option, just like all the other times before. I had learned many years before that backing down was a much worse fate. But this one was different. All the other times I was at least remotely the same size as the other person. As I turned the corner to see my car, it seemed like half of the school was waiting for me. There was no turning back now. I was walking into certain devastation. It was what they refer to as a two-hit fight. He hit me and I hit the ground. One of my friends drove me home, and when my mom saw I had a gash on my face, which is still a scar I have to this day. I came home from the hospital. My dad was enraged when he found out the size of the other guy. Luckily, wisdom prevailed and we called the police and pressed charges. Oddly enough, the stitches on my face made me slightly more appealing to the girls at school. But that event set in motion months of isolation and depression. I know a lot more about bullying behavior now, and by all accounts, the guy in question turned out to be a pretty good dude. He did call me as he was about to be arraigned and asked me to drop the charges. So I asked my dad what he thought I should do. Let's just say my dad didn't think I should drop the charges and leave it at that. So I didn't, and that's pretty much the end of that saga from a detail standpoint. But from an emotional standpoint, I put that incident in a jar and shut the lid tight, which only made things worse. Just to be clear, and in case the guy in question ever sees this, the problems I had went far deeper than this two-hit fight. When I first started therapy, I was completely shut down. I remember at the time taking great pride in the fact that I didn't cry at anything. Then one incident changed all of that. My grandfather died. We were very close, and he was one of the greatest people I've ever known. I was on my second date with a young woman and decided not to cancel. When I went to pick her up, my mind was clearly occupied, and her mother that answered the door asked me if something was wrong. All I can remember from that day is that woman hugging me for the next 20 minutes while I sobbed on her shoulder. So much for Mr. Tough non-crying guy. I had a lot of moments with my therapy that I can point to as an aha moment, but that might have been the biggest. It was like the jar that I kept shut opened all at once. And it hurt. But the hurt was different. It was almost like it was cleansing my soul. I guess at this point I should mention that the woman became my mother in law. And of course, writing that line made me tear up a little bit. I was 20 years old and I'm now 47. I've been with my wife since that day. It took a long time for me to let go of the hate in my heart from that incident. And that opened the door for lots of other awakenings. That also hurt and also cleansed my soul a little bit. But this story isn't about forgiveness. It's about finding support and people who care for you. It's about making yourself vulnerable so you can feel worthy again. People think fat loss is about calories or some list of foods you should avoid. But those solutions are incomplete. Years later, I allowed myself to get in pretty bad shape. And once again, I started to look for the lid to that jar. From my late 20s to into my late 30s, my weight ballooned. My health was pretty bad and it was time for a change. I kept trying the do more and eat less model and it failed me over and over. I was so desperate that I tried the only other reasonable option, the exact opposite. To be clear, early on my approach wasn't great. But after basically dieting my way to obesity, I decided to make performance a bigger part of my life. In the beginning, I held on to some bad habits and my workouts weren't put together very well. Here's the thing though, the hard work everyone talks to you about, beast mode, never quit, second place is the first loser, that's not the real hard work. The real hard work is keeping that jar open and making peace with who you are now. 30-day challenges and lists of foods prey on the problems people think they have, but in reality, fat loss is easy. Let me explain what you've been doing wrong. And just in case you think you're a special situation, I think you'll see why what I'm about to say is something you've never tried. Well, you didn't think you tried it, but you did by accident. What is the real secret of dieting? And trust me, if you were doing one of those it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle deals, you were eating less than you burned. So you were dieting, and if you've gotten this far into the video, it didn't work. So I'll just go ahead and say it. The real secret to dieting is the time when you aren't dieting. That's the trigger that makes the gun explode. Basically, as I was dieting my way to obesity, I never allowed my body to adapt. I would always panic and starve myself in some way, shape, or form. It was this rinse and repeat cycle that befuddled me for years. Here's the thing though, it doesn't just work for obese people. All people are meant to eat an adequate amount for what they do, most of the time. I'll come back to that part in just a second. There was an interesting study on addiction that talked about the environment where addicts actually recover. What they found was basically the opposite of the system that currently exists. Isn't it funny how often the opposite is the best path, but we're all too scared to try it? The study was on mice and heroin addiction. I won't bore you with all the details, but when the mice's options were limited, they almost always chose the heroin. So the researchers changed the conditions dramatically. Instead of further limiting the options of the mice, they built this elaborate mouse park. There was abundant cheese and lady mice, all the things a mouse would find appealing. What they found was astonishing. When the mice were limited, they had an almost 100% overdose rate. When the environment and the conditions of the mouse were changed, heroin did not hold the same appeal. So what does this have to do with you and the excessive fat you have on your body? Said simply, when your options are limited in an unsupportive environment, failure is the most logical outcome. It's why people often say diet and exercise is so confusing. No matter who you are or how much fat you have on your body, Seeking understanding and support is a big part of the answer. Our new book, The Wave Method, isn't just a book. It's a fundamental change in the way we all struggle. To describe it simply is we give you the plan when you aren't eating at a deficit. But now with the Wave Method, we also have performance-focused fat loss phases so you can reach your optimal body composition. If you need visual proof that our methods work for literally thousands of people, simply scroll down and read a few examples. The Wave Method isn't the system, it's a system. But it is the system we know is best for a lifetime of sustainable results where dieting isn't the end game. Thriving and being the best version of you mentally and physically is. We do that by providing you people. Firstly, your people are doctors and scientists. Dr. Mike T. Nelson trains our coaching team, and he's one of the most sought-after speakers in the world related to health and wellness. Next, we have coaches that walk you through the plan and answer questions and make adjustments along the way. We also have over 75,000 members, just like you, that you can lean on in a supportive and encouraging environment. Oh, and that's right, you have me. I'm not some guru that hands you a list of food off the mountaintops. I'm in the struggle with you, teaching you what I learned. When I started Eat to Perform, I didn't build it for you. I had no idea what it would become. I built it for me because we all need people, including me. So here's what you get when you sign up. Firstly, you get our new book, The Wave Method, which is a fundamentally different approach to food. Secondly, you get access to our team of coaches. When you first sign up, you can request your plan and our team will get you that plan. We call these numbers your wave numbers. Whether you're overeating or undereating, your wave numbers will solve the majority of the problem you have probably struggled with for a long time. Secondly, you'll have access to our Wave Method coaching forum. In this forum, we'll walk you through the process of seeing actual results that show up in the mirror. Which brings me to our performance-focused fat loss challenges. No matter where you are in the cycle, you'll always have fat loss as the goal. Whether it's keeping the muscle you've earned in the gym or using up excessive fat on your frame, you'll always be addressing fat loss. And not the way you've done it in the past. It will almost always be painless and without thought. So let's talk about what I'm prepared to do for you to see results. Which brings me to the $100,000 I talked about earlier. Every 2 months, we give away $100,000 in prizes. If you want to call it a bribe, I'm okay with that. Basically, we're keeping you accountable so you achieve the results that have eluded you for a long time. Names like Reebok, Titan Clothing, and Thrive Market are just the tip of the iceberg. In 2016, we're kicking it up a notch. We're holding our very first Eat to Perform summer camp. 200 people will be joining us and you can win an all-expenses-paid trip. And unlike most other starvation systems, we'll be having s'mores and wine and many other things because life is too short to be miserable all the time. If you don't think we can have you eat things you enjoy and still see results, put us to the test. Actually, the triple test. If you are overeating, your wave numbers will set you up for fat loss immediately. If you are undereating, the numbers will stabilize your system, address deficiencies, and set you up for the first time in a long time for actual fat loss. Similar books sell for around $50, but you can't buy the Wave Method. Not by itself. The Wave Method comes with a plan for you written by coaches. We walk you through a year's worth of phases to get you results that will last a lifetime. Said simply, when you're done, you'll never be confused again. Personalized plans like this that change as your goals change literally go for thousands of dollars, so let's call it $1,050 in value. We don't sell it for $1,050 though, because of the amount of support and people we're able to help. We can sell it for $14.95 a month. That gets you a year's worth of access, which is roughly $180 a year for personalized support. But we have a better deal for less than half of that amount. For a limited time, we can offer this to you for $99.95. Some people, however, need a bit more help, and for that we created our meal planning group. Our meal planning group is a team of coaches that do basically what it says. They provide you with easy lists, recipes, and drag and drop tools to make hitting your goals a breeze. We only recently started that group, and all the proceeds go to charitable causes. We've already put thousands of dollars into the hands of people that need it the most. That option costs $119.95, and 20 of those dollars goes to charity. So by now I know you're ready to jump in, but let me make one more offer to sweeten the pot a bit. With our resources and team, we know that we're the answer you've been looking for. So much so that we're willing to guarantee it. Actually, we're going to triple guarantee it. That's right. Join us and read the book, Nothing Like It Exists. But first, jump in and get your plan from a coach. Attend our webinars, participate in a challenge or two, but you can't half-ass it. We will know. If after all that time and attention, let's put, say, a 6-month time limit on it, you find that Eat to Perform isn't for you, we won't just refund you your money, we will triple it. That's our triple the money guarantee. Every day you'll be working with your people, and we wake up excited to help you do that. It's time to take your food and exercise game up a notch by dropping the starvation and starting to eat to perform. Thanks for listening.